Okay, so how quickly did Key and Peele start after you moved out here?
I moved out in March 2010, and it was 2011 July that we started writing.
Oh, that's great. So he was just like, "Hey, we got the show. They picked us up. You want to be on the writing staff?"
Well, it wasn't. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was.
Or did you have to submit?
I had to submit, but the fact that I got that was my biggest lucky break. That I got,
of course,
because they never would have read me. I was nobody. You know?
Right. Well, Charlie Sanders, who I had on, also a Key and Peele writer, said the same thing, that he had to submit to the network.
Yeah.
They knew him, they liked him, but he still had to submit to the network. It was a network type of thing, right?
Yeah. And the story, as I understand it, is that Comedy Central at first said no to me. Jordan said you should submit because he liked writing with me.
Yeah.
And then fortunately, the other EPs also liked my packet. And at first, I think Comedy Central said no, and their reason was he's never written for TV before.
Oh, look at that.
So it's that catch-22, and that's the thing that makes it so hard to break in.
That's the worst thing ever.
Yeah, it's impossible. I mean, it's really, really. And then
for an actor, it's really hard too.
Yeah. Well, there are so many things on pilots are offers, going out to people they already know.
Well, it's like we haven't seen him on camera, we can't put him on camera.
Right.
Well, how do I get on camera if you haven't seen me at all?
And it's because the way they're making decisions is trying to find
proven
safe
stuff.
bets.
Yeah. So you submit this stuff, you get into Key and Peele. Do you get an agent right away from that, or how do you get your reps from this?
After season 1, Jordan's manager took me on.
Oh, that's great.
After season 1, and then I think after season 2, I got some agents. Yeah,
just through your own sort of.
I think actually my
manager
helped me get agents.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and they're all great. I've got great reps. I've been very lucky.
So did the manager then start submitting you to other stuff, or were you pretty Key and Peele centric while you were on Key and Peele for the first few seasons?
I was a huge fan of Community.
Yeah.
Specifically, Dan Harmon was like my favorite comedy writer.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, too bad I'll never get to write on Community. But then he got. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Anyway, when he got brought back in 2013, when the news broke that he was coming back to season 5 of Community,
right.
I called my reps and I was like, please, I've never done that. I was like, oh, please get me in a room with this guy. I should write for this show. And I remember being on the phone with my manager explaining why I really wanted it, and it almost felt like I was calling a girl in 7th grade or something. My heart was in my throat. I felt all emotional and
which is not good because they are supposed to be working for us.
Yeah,
it's such a weird dynamic.
Yeah, but then fortunately, the only source of I still wasn't really qualified to write for Community. I don't think. I mean, it was a bit of a reach, because the show Key and Peele was still relatively new and it's a sketch show I hadn't written for
as opposed to
fortunately, the only source of confidence I had is I was like, I feel like Harmon and I have an affinity and some I think part of the reason I love the show so much is I think a little bit like him. I don't mean I'm a genius like him, but I mean some of the sensibilities. I love some of the things he loves.
Yeah.
And that was my only source of confidence, and it paid off. I mean, I think that they did see in me someone who could write for Community, and then I did, and it went well, and
that's great.
It was really it was a great experience. But
back to that though, You hadn't written comedy at all, so how did you write your Key and Peele packet, and then how did you write your Community? I assume you had to submit something to Community.
I think what they submitted for Community, my agents were like, "You got to write a pilot. You got to write a pilot."
Right.
And there was a moment when it looked like I think FX looked at my pilot and I was like, "Nah," but it was a good writing sample, I guess. So it's gotten me some mileage.
So how did you know how to write a packet for Key and Peele?
I didn't.
You just were like, Jordan, what do I do or something?
Kind of, yeah. Well,
because you hadn't written any comedy up to this point.
Well,
had you, once you got to LA, you'd write the movie?
I'd always comedy was always my all the fiction I liked was usually comedic. I was always very comedy focused, but I didn't have any confidence in my ability to write comedy. And, I did take. I think it was in fall of 2010. Jordan was like, if this show gets picked up, I want you to submit. So you should work on a sketch packet.
Yeah.
So I took a UCB sketch writing class.
There it is.
Literally, honestly. After that class, my conclusion was I guess I can't write sketch because I
took that sketch class too, and I felt the same way.
Yeah, I was bad at it.
Who was your teacher?
Dominic Durkee, great guy.
Durkis, awesome. Yeah. He's been on the podcast. He's fantastic.
I pronounced his name wrong. Don't tell him.
I think it's Durkis.
You're probably right.
Dom?
Yeah.
No, he's great.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
That's awesome.
He's great. Yeah, he was great. But I definitely was I don't know.
I felt that same way too.
Who taught you?
Hal Rudnick.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Had you taken any classes prior to that?
I took a bunch of UCB classes.
Oh, in New York you did?
No, in LA. Actually, Jordan told me when I moved out here. Jordan was like, what you should do is you should take UCB classes.
Oh, wow!
Because he was like, for a writer, it's like a good thing to do.
Oh, that for sure. So you took all the improv classes and stuff.
Yeah.
Who did you have for teachers for that?
Todd Fasson, Julie Brister, Will McLaughlin.
Oh, love Will.
And Alex Berg.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, they're all awesome.
That's got to be a great sort of boot camp then for you to prep for that.
Yeah.
And then, so Community, the pilot you wrote, was it just sort of? It wasn't a spec, was it? Oh, it was a spec for Community.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. No, it was
just
it was on
an original.
Spec. Yeah, it was an original. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's about the son of a. I wrote it so long ago. It's sort of like a James Bond villain's son, kind of. Who's now
funny.
running his organization from like a submarine under the sea. And,
that's great.
Yeah, I mean, I think it had some good jokes in it.
Yeah,
you know,
that's what you need. I feel like.
it just showed that I could write jokes.
Yeah, and do the format or whatever. I feel like.